Hi, this is just a quick impressions of video for the current state of the Cotton games on Switch. This isn't a Digital Foundry or Electric Underground style count the frame offset type of thing, but there is a bit of slow-mo capture later on. I got back into shoot 'em ups a couple of years ago. I was a big fan of them back in the days of the Mega Drive, with Insector X being my favourite back then. When the 5th gen of consoles came around, I ditched them in favour of the new shiny 3D graphics at the time. I do remember seeing an import of the Saturn Cotton games in a store back in the late 90s and almost picking it up. I'm kicking myself now, although I did pick up Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter instead, which is fair enough, and surprising considering it wasn't polygon based. Anyway, the game that got me back into shoot 'em ups was Gundamonium Recollection, an absolute bonkers bullet hell with an amazing soundtrack. Since then, I've had a soft spot for cute ups, shmups with aesthetics more aligned with platform games. In general, I find they have more personality. That eventually led me to picking up Cotton Reboot and Cotton Fantasy Superlative Night Dreams, both modern takes on the Cotton games. The City Connection ports were on sale on the Switch recently. I've heard some bad things about these, specifically the input lag in the emulation. But I'd also heard that both Cotton games had been patched post-launch. So, are the games playable? Or at least offer £6 worth of playability? Not to bury the lead too much, but it's alright. Kind of. To be totally clear, it's not as good as it should be. If you played the originals on Saturn, you'll notice a certain lag, a heaviness of the controls. The thing is, I think you can get away with it in these games. They're not Danmaku, even though it can get quite hectic. It's certainly nowhere near Gundamonium levels of craziness. Not trying to make excuses for the ports, but I think they're basically entertaining enough to warrant a sale price. I haven't got any accurate metrics to run off, but I have captured some 240 frames per second footage of the games. This is quite rough, but I think you can clearly see the lag in action. When you press fire, there's an animation that plays, like Cotton conjuring a spell that has to complete before the projectile is fired. On the Switch ports, there's a distinct delay between the fire button being released and the animation starting to play. This happens on both games, with Cotton Boomerang feeling slightly worse. Now if you compare this to Cotton 2 running on an actual Saturn, you'll see the conjuring animation is pretty instantaneous. This is far more snappy. Just a note, this is a PAL Saturn fitted with a 50-60Hz toggle switch. So what's the verdict? It's up to you really. Had I not known about the issues with input lag in these ports, I'd have just thought the controls were a bit heavy. As it stands, I'm enjoying them. Entertaining games I can just stick on to kill 20 minutes. I also picked up the Strikers 1945 games on sale too. I loved Psycho's Gunbird games, but the Strikers games didn't really appeal, to be honest. It's all down to aesthetics again, I guess. But as they were a couple of quid a piece, I thought I'd dip my toe in the water with the first one. I ended up enjoying it so much I bought the other two. Psycho definitely had a formula to their games. Bullet patterns can appear simplistic at first, but there's a catch. With every pattern thrown at you, there appears to be a rogue bullet that targets just ahead of your current position. The visuals definitely improved over time, with the third looking quite classy. Quite possibly not entirely historically accurate though. Pretty sure that the F117A wasn't around for World War II. But if you're into shooters and have glossed over these games, they're well worth taking a punt on. Anyway, have a good one.